Today's learning target is I can describe a data set using the measures of center. So we calculate these measures of center, mean, median, or mode, to describe a data set to others without having to list out each individual data piece, as data sets could encompass large numbers of data. So there could be 50 pieces or 100 pieces. So by using the measures of center, we hopefully would communicate to somebody information about a data set in a more clear way. The measure of center that describes the data set best will depend on the data pieces. So an important vocabulary word for this lesson is an outlier. An outlier is a value that lies outside. It's either much smaller or much larger than most of the other values in a set of data. So here we see a data set, and this would be the outlier because it is very spaced out from all of the rest of the pieces of data. You could see it in visual representations like a line plot. You could see it just in a list. So this was a list of grades. Clearly the 55 stands out compared to 88, 90, 93, 94. Here's another list of data pieces. These are temperatures, but clearly 300 degrees is much larger than the rest of the data. Here in the scores, 55 was much smaller than the rest of the data. So some key ideas. The mode is the best measure of central tendency for data that represents frequency of choice, such as favorite color or most popular song. The mode can also be the best measure if a data set contains a numerical value that repeats often. If all the numbers in a data set are relatively close together, the median or the mean will typically be the best measure of center to use to describe the data set. If the data set has outliers, usually the median works better than the mean. So here's just a chart to summarize that. The mean would be best when there are no outliers. The median would be best if there are outliers and there are not large gaps in the middle of the data. The mode could be best if there are many identical numbers. So here's an example. Amir and Melanie's weekly quiz scores were 4, 5, 8, 9, 9. Which measure of central tendency best describe the data and explain why? So the median here is 8, the mode is 9, and the mean is 7. So the mode is the highest score. So that really does not do a good job of describing the data set as a whole. The other two measures, the 8 and the 7, either one would be acceptable in this case. There's really not an outlier in the data. There's a bit of a larger gap going from 8 down to 5 or 4, which would argue that the mean was better, but the median better demonstrates that the 9s are present. So either the mean or the median would work in this case. Here we have lifespan of animals. Obviously, this Galapagos tortoise stands out at 200 years, where all the rest are between 20 and 70 years. So they're calculating the measures here, including that outlier. So the mean is about 62, they rounded. The median is 35 and the mode is 30. They took out the outlier and the mean was about 39. The median was 32.5 and the mode was still 30. So the mode really doesn't help us describe the data set here because that's very close to the smallest numbers in the data set, which leaves us between the median and the mean. The median did not change very much, so we would use the median to best describe the data set. If you look going from 62 down to 39, that's a big drop in the mean. And here's one last example. Suki paid the following amounts for her last 6 pairs of jeans: $44, $38, $45, $49, $125, and $50. So they ordered the data set least to greatest. The median is 47. There's 2 values here in the middle, 45 and 49. So you would have to do 45 plus 49 and divide by 2. Which gives you 47. The mean price is $58.50. and there are no data pieces that repeat, so there is no mode. So if we're trying to figure out which value best describes the data set, we're looking at the median of 47 and the mean of 58.5. So once again, we have this outlier here of 125. When I look at these numbers, it goes from 38 to 50, which is not a wide range. And then there's a huge jump to get from 50 to 125. So because of that, the median would be a better descriptor than the mean. If you guys have any questions, please let your teacher know.